Perfect. Morning, everybody, and welcome to our first Landcare Build Skills for 2026. I hope everybody's had a lovely morning and you're all enjoying the cooler weather, the rain and the flowers that they bring either in your garden or the land that you care for. If you haven't seen my face before, my name's Eve and I'm the Member Services Manager here at WALN. I'd also like to welcome Christine from Clontarf Hill, who's here with me this morning, and Francesca from Bibbul Ngarma Aboriginal Association. They'll both be sharing their stories with us, and thank you both so much for doing that, and I'm really, really looking forward to it. Before we get started, I would like to acknowledge that I live and work on beautiful Whadjuk-Noongar, and I consider myself fortunate to help restore this beautiful country. I would like to pay my respects to elders past and present, and I extend a deep respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders on the call today. I acknowledge their ongoing connection to land, sea, and sky as the world's oldest continuous living culture. So please acknowledge what country you're calling in on from the chat function. I'd love to see the diversity of land that we're calling in from today. Now, as me and Christine were just talking this morning, as community land carers, we are constantly monitoring the areas that we work on. And, you know, we notice changes in vegetation health, structure, and abundance, and all of the creatures that visit and live in the places that we care for and look after. And I think this is especially true when you work on an area for an extended period of time or you live in that area. And I guess when you view it from this lens, monitoring is really just collecting information about your site to help you restore it and set it on a trajectory for success. Monitoring helps to detect problems early on and thus supports adaptive management. And transparent monitoring, importantly, shows results which help local communities, funders and regulators understand your project and the outcomes. And just a heads up, if everyone could please save your questions till the end or pop them in the chat as we go, and we'll get to them at the end of the presentations. And now I'm going to hand over to Christine to introduce herself and tell us a bit about the work that we do up at Clontarf Hill. Thank you so much.
Hi, everyone. I guess most of you are aware of the kinds of monitoring techniques that we're going to talk about today. So probably not much new, but nevertheless, it is, as Eve says, an important aspect of our work, and it's often the data entry that's the least inspiring of all the work that we do. Next slide. So yeah, we've been working on this hill for some time, and we're really trying to restore the habitat there. It is a site that is important to Whadjuk-Noongars. It's got heritage listing, and we'd like to honour that tradition and recognise their connection. We'd like also to facilitate passive recreation on the site. It's not a site where we want to encourage mountain bike riding or anything like that. We're really keen for it to be passive recreation only. So that's a bit of a challenge. And just some background on the site. It was a road reserve for many, many years. And there have been various attempts to revive that reserve as a road into Fremantle. And so, of course, we've had many battles.
Yes, it was a part of the Row 9 Reserve, if anyone is familiar with that.
Yeah. So that's us planting last year. We've got a good group of locals who participate in the planting. Of course, after we plant, that's when the monitoring comes into action. So we have had 2 NRM projects, and they're really both very much the same. They're focusing on getting rid of the woody weeds, which is mainly the Brazilian peppers and the Victorian tea trees, and the weed control, mainly fountain grass, veld grass. And, you know, through those projects, we've been trying to raise awareness in the community about the weed species and about some of the local species that we plant. So we've, as I said, had a lot of challenges. We've had Botchоспharia outbreak with our tuits. We've had very hot summers that have affected the existing canopy, and we've had a lot of limbs dropping. And despite watering all through the summer, we've had lower success rates than in the past when we've planted. Our goals are really to try and get the site in good condition. We're hoping that in the future we'll be able to assess, a plot and look at it and hopefully have a minimum of 6 native species in that 10 by 10 plot. We're looking to reduce weed coverage by at least 75%. And we have a lot of tuits on site. We've also got honey myrtle as well. So we've got threatened ecological communities on site, and it's fantastic habitat, foraging habitat for black cockatoos. So what do we do to try and record so that we can look back and look at what we've done and measure how much success we've made? We do photo point monitoring, and we do that 3 or 4 times a year. And generally we look at what we call a cell, an area, and we take photos looking north, looking south, looking east, and looking west in each cell. And yeah, that provides us pretty good evidence of how the landscape's changed. We've been doing quadrats, so that gives us an indication of when the plants have started to lose good health and when they've died, and it gives us an idea of the success rate of our planting. And we've also been doing weed mapping, so then we can go back in a couple of years and look at how much of a reduction in the weeds has occurred as a result of our work. So yeah, you can see pretty big difference there.
This is our planting site from last year, isn't it?
Yeah, yep. Yeah. So on the left is an almost impenetrable mass of not Victorian tea tree, that's pepper trees. And you can see here on the right-hand side our plantings, and you can see those brown foliage. That's where it's been, that's the young peppers re-sprouting that have been recently poisoned. So yeah, we really have to monitor our areas for that regrowth from the roots and also from the seed bank. So even when we're watering through the summer, we're paying attention to what's happening in that regard and scheduling work to address that regrowth.
Yeah, and we've replaced that pepper thicket with some beautiful tuits, which are absolutely humongous, aren't they?
They sure are.
Yeah, and they're growing so well.
Yeah,
it's
they're doing very
amazing
well
to see.
So yeah, we're also embarking, and we have in the past, of course, done some tuit mapping, which we're looking to do again in the future. Generally, we classify the tuits into 3 categories. So we've got the seedlings, which
I've just made myself a cuppa, but I don't know.
So yeah, generally the seedlings are either the self-seeded seedlings or the ones that we've planted, and then the juveniles with adult leaves, softwood. and the mature tuats with the adult leaves and the hardwood. Our transects, this is one of the plots that we used last year, and you can see that in January there was a pretty steep decline in the survival rate, but very noticeably the start of the decline was in November, and you can see that photo on the right showing the poor root development. And so to some extent we're finding that the tube stock that we're getting is not always good quality, and so despite our best efforts they're not going to survive. And we find that there's a very early rate of death because of that. So really digging up the plants is the only way to provide evidence of that, and as you can see here, recording by taking photographs is pretty important to give feedback to nurseries. As Eve said, if you've got questions about any of our monitoring activities, we're happy to take questions at the end.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks, Christine. I'll have a little bit to add at the end, but just very quickly, we are going to do a session probably in a couple of months looking at different elements of boosting seedling survival to do with watering intervals, soil water holding retention rates, and we're going to be looking at that root structure as well and how that impacts upon plant survival. So keep an eye out for that one. We've got a fantastic man called Peter who does the transects and the root health surveys, and he's awesome. I'm just going to pause the recording. We've got one question in the chat, which I'll kick off with. Katrina's wondering where the funding comes from for the 2 rangers. Oh, well, I guess your ranger group, who employs them?
Yeah. Well, us. And we've actually got 7 rangers, soon to be 8, which is awesome. So only 2 of them made it onto that photo. But we've got 8. And the rangers are funded by the National Indigenous Australians Agency, which is the Indigenous Rangers Program. So that program is federal government funding for Aboriginal rangers. It's only ever been released twice, once 10 years ago and once last year. And so we are very, very fortunate to have been successful with securing this funding. And really, I suppose this is the core of our operational model, is having rangers on the ground. Funded by, government ranger programs, and then everything else is projects on the side of that, which can come from a whole plethora of people. Although we don't want our rangers to rely on government, and we don't want anything to rely on government, because change of government can happen, and you might find yourself suddenly with a program that falls over. So whilst we've got this funding, that's kind of the leg up to start. And our rangers will also be doing fee for service work, so that we can grow the team and develop their skills. And whether that's on ground, restoration that's fee for service, whether it's community education, community events, things with schools, there's a whole heap of things that they can be doing. But yeah, that NIAA money is pivotal. It's game changing for our organization to have received that. Yeah. Because otherwise it was just me running around and dragging the board members in wherever I could. Yeah. Thanks for the question.
We've got another one from Katrina, actually. How old can the eDNA be that you find?
Oh, I love that question. I don't know. I don't know is the answer, and I would love to know. And there are people looking at this now. We're working with Susie at DBCA, and she's doing a lot of work on how it travels through the system. And I mean, that's a question. How does it travel? How long does it last in the system? Because it must be breaking down, right? So when we collect these samples, we preserve them instantly, and then they can sit in storage so that we can retest them and things if we need to. one of the things we do is collect 3 samples from every site. We test 2 and we put 1 on storage because it's $300 a sample. So we have to manage the budget. But if you're putting it in storage, it's kind of like a time shot, a time capsule of what was in the water at that time. That then preserves it. But how long does it last? I don't know. Is it different lengths of time for different types of DNA from different creatures? The sampling that we do relies on physical DNA getting into our water sample. So there's a lot of variability between the samples too, because you might have managed to scoop up a bit of eDNA in one sample, but not in another. So, how does it move? How long does it last? They're all things we don't really know. And with the work that we're doing, we are feeding our information back to the government and back to researchers, people like eDNA Frontiers at Curtin University, Lab in New Zealand, because we're helping them as they develop this technique. I don't actually think we know is the long answer, I suppose. But there's so much to learn from that. Um, and yeah, who knows? I don't know.
Absolutely. Also, if people want to unmute themselves and we can just kind of have a bit of a general discussion. Just thinking in terms of if people wanted to talk about any sort of monitoring or evaluation that they're currently undertaking on their patch. I know that we've got a few different people from around the state kind of working on very different projects. But just for Clontarf Hill specifically as well, we are thinking of applying for some Lottery West funding to do the TEC mapping up on site, because obviously, kind of like as Christine alluded to, although the site is no longer zoned for row 9, thank God, you still want it to be held in the highest kind of ecological value and it be used in that state, and so the TEC mapping is such a key component of that. But and I guess a question I've got for you as well, Francesca, what sort of grant funding did you use to do the eDNA, or was that kind of wrapped up in the whole kind of program as well?
For the eDNA, we used a bit of 2 different funding projects. We used some money from Lottery West. Lottery West gave us a significant grant for BBB Stage 1, which included the cultural mapping and eDNA sampling. And then ECU, Edith Cowan University, have also kind of doubled what Lottery West gave us and have allowed us to really do that eDNA. And I suppose that kind of collaboration is key for us in terms of getting more money to be able to do what we want. Working with people is always the best way to go. And we've established collaboration agreements with ECU and with other organizations too. And through that you can really sort of look for opportunities to share resources and funding, because now that eDNA data is there, and it's available for ECU, it's available for students. If anyone wants to start pouring through this data with it in any detail, it's there. So really looking for, I guess, alternative funding sources rather than just looking for grants. There are research groups out there who want to partner, because we bring something strong, right? These groups are groups together. We provide the manpower, and often there might be money for analysis. Like that analysis that we've done cost $80,000 for 2 rounds.
Wow.
Yeah. This is the kind of money that we're talking about. They're $300 a sample, and you have to do multiple at each location. But truly, the value of people's time is also important, and the value of volunteers. We went out and we did that sampling unpaid, like as volunteers in our own time, and the first round took weeks actually of going out there and a lot of petrol and a lot of this. So we have a lot of value in our groups that we have the manpower, we know the sites, we know where to test. And often these researchers might have the money but don't know the land and don't know where to sample or might not have the time to go out. So really it's a wonderful partnership. We'll do the work, the legwork, if you fund the analysis, and then the data is available for everybody,
Yeah. So it's like what I'm hearing is like you're looking for stakeholders who also have interest and would benefit from having that data. And it sounds like
Exactly.
similar to what you did with all of the LGAs with that water quality sampling. It's like that data is also extremely useful for them. And then it's like, but you're actually out there doing the work.
That's that kind of model is what we do a lot. Yeah, if you
Yeah.
guys can fund the lab analysis, we'll do the work for free, or now our rangers can get involved and do that, but we'll share the data with everyone. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. Another group that's a part of WALN is Friends of Up Bushland, and they're up near Kensington. And I know that they do a lot of work with Curtin as well, doing their Banksia restoration. So yeah, I think where possible, like Francesca's saying, if you can partner with a uni or a research group or an LGA, it's extremely beneficial.
Yeah.
Just wanted to throw out to the floor, is anyone doing any monitoring on a site at the moment? Pauline, could I call on you? Are you doing anything in your site in success, or is that still very much in the planning phase?
Hi, Eve. It
Hello.
is very in its infancy. I was down there this morning doing some watering of our little tube stock that went in obviously a little bit early, I think, and some weeding. But yeah, it's just eyeballing at the moment. I'm interested in the QGIS though, because we've been using just the satellite Google images as they update. So that'll be much better for that kind of monitoring. But yeah, sorry, I'm kind of in its infancy and eagerly listening to some of the things that I want to put on for our patch.
Absolutely. And is there anything that you can see from this morning you think that could be useful in your patch as well?
Yeah, well, I think I'm unfortunately not as much good at the data maybe as Francesca might be, but this QGIS planning would be good. The things I'm doing are more a little bit more along the line of what Christine was talking about, where I'm taking photos of things, and each year when we plant, I'll stand next to the tree, get someone to take a photo and see how much taller it's grown.
Love
So
that. Love
those
that.
kind of things, yeah, is where we're at the moment. So yeah, still very grassroots and very kind of early stage stuff for me.
No, it's exciting though. It's really exciting. I can't wait to see your site.
Yeah, you're welcome to come down anytime.
Oh, I absolutely will. I'm thinking as well, a useful resource for everyone here, I can imagine, would be kind of tiering the different monitoring tools that friends of groups and community groups could use on kind of like a cost scale.
Yeah.
So doing things that kind of like how Francesca's actually explained it, things that are really easy to access, and then things that you probably need grant funding to access, and give kind of like a ballpark cost of how much that is. And also who you could potentially go to fund those initiatives as well.
Actually, you just read my mind. That was what I was just about to talk to Francesca about. So I work and volunteer as well for Southern Forest Community Landcare. We're down in
awesome.
Mandoon, and Kathy, who's just left, she is one of my colleagues there.
Yeah.
But we are very infant, is in the let's talk about and brainstorm stage. We do a lot of on-farm work, Landcare on-farm work. We're in farming region. But we are looking at what sort of project, on-farm project in regards to dam health, enhancing water on farm, which increases productivity of cattle and sheep. It's all to do with productivity in the end, but on the farmer's perspective. And yeah, like I said, we're at the brainstorming stage, and I've just been busily writing down everything you've said and taken photos of your PowerPoints, Francesca. It was excellent. But what would be really handy was exactly what you just said was, is there some sort of, or could there be some sort of template of, I mean, we need to translate it over to a farming and dam environment, which
absolutely
most of the dams down here are spring fed. They're different to the dams up in Perth, and a lot of them run off into catchments. So there is that link there between man-made and natural water. But a template of some description to guide us with, okay, well, what can we be doing then on there? And it just seems you've already done so much of the groundwork, and then how can I fully... Sorry, my dog's whining in the background. How can I fully take advantage of the work? You know, I don't want to read.
It's already been done.
Yeah, someone's already done that.
I'm just going to post this in the chat, Katrina. Katanning Landcare have done an enhanced farm dam case study. And I know that they've done quite a few dams, and it sounds like a very similar kind of idea. And they could potentially be a really good contact for you to base some of your I guess, planning and also then monitoring on as well. Yeah.
If I can add something as well, there's Belinda Robson at Murdoch who's just done a heap of work on dams and farm dams and the kind of refuge that they provide. So her work's available online, and it's really interesting and yeah, might be of interest to you, Katrina. I believe she's speaking at the Murdoch are doing a day, I think it's next week, on the 25th at the Wetlands Centre in Coburn, and Belinda will be speaking there. We'll be talking again there as well. But that might be of interest to you. And then in terms of like a template or a process to follow of what we've done, this is one of the things that we'll be putting together over the next 12 months, is that as well as the catchment plan, but there'll be a model process, like a flow chart, I suppose,
Flow chart,
of what's the BoorYul-Bah-Bilya process? What have we done? And how can that be applied to any other ecosystem, whether it's a dam, whether it's a series of dams, whether it's a drain, whether it's a full catchment, the process will remain the same. So we are putting that together over the next 12 months, I suppose, as part of that rollout of the BBB across the catchment. And that's the point, right? Is that we've done all of this learning along the way, and some parts have probably been more difficult than they should have been. But now we've done that, we want to hopefully share that with everybody so that some of those lessons learned can help other people. So keep your eye out on what we're doing and on that model process. And if you do want to get in touch, you're very welcome to have yarns, and I can point you in direction of how we started out, and things like that.
Thank you. And how did you spell her last name? Robson. Was that R-O-B-S-O-N?
I feel like it's Robson, R-O-B-S-O-N. I'm not very good with names.
I'm going to mute myself because I've got dogs going off.
Oh, good. We actually can't hear them.
Thank you. Oh, good.
No.
Just going to get to Nadia's question, talking about how we do our quadrats on Clontarf. So I'm going to share the draft report. So could you stop screen sharing for us, Francesca? Thank you so much. So yeah, just a note that this report is in a draft stage, but what we'll do is maybe we'll get in contact with the person who wrote it and see if it's something that can potentially even be shared as a template. Like we can remove the data. Yeah. We'll get, basically I'll ask and we'll get that back to you. But I will just show you what that looks like now. Here we go. Okay. So can you guys all see that?
Yep.
Perfect. So from my understanding, Peter did 3 plots. Is that right, Christine?
Yeah.
Yep. And in different soil profiles?
Yes.
And let's have a look.
They weren't exactly 10 by 10s. Some of it wasn't possible to do a 10 by 10 in every section.
Yeah.
Near enough.
Yeah, and I think, so your question was, let me just have a look. What did we do? How do you measure, count to estimate survival and monitor health of veg? Yeah.
Well, we do count species survival, obviously.
Yeah.
But we also record rainfall and the different soil types in those 3 different quadrats. So that gives us an idea of what species are surviving best in what soil types. So even though they're quite close to each other, there's a big difference in the depth of soil and the condition of the soil. Mainly, some of that's due to the fact that the site was camped during the Second World War, and so there was a lot of building that took place, and there was a lot of equipment. And of course, different types of substances we're imagining. And also the area where we planted last year was once a market garden. So, there's been a lot of human interference with the topsoil in particular. And it's difficult to know without, expensive soil analysis what's been happening. I mean, we get an idea when we dig, of course, because we find things in the soil. We find gravel and we find rocks that are not local to the area, coffee rock, for example, because our site is limestone. So yeah, there's evidence that there's been stockpiles of different materials there on site in the past that have altered. And of course, you know, having a market garden, that would have altered the soil drastically. So yeah, it's hard to know sometimes what is influencing the rates of death of plants. Yeah.
And Nadia, can I ask, whereabouts are you located? Are you like a kind of Perth Wodjuk, or are you around the south coast, or? I can't hear you.
Nadia's just asked about the watering.
Oh, that's Pauline.
Oh,
Can I
Pauline,
ask where the watering regime for the plots were?
We watered fortnightly, and so they were getting between 1 and 3 litres each time we watered. We weren't using flow meters on each occasion, so it wasn't strictly accurate in terms of how much, but yeah.
Yep. No worries at all. Okay, so Perth at DWA, yeah. Well, yeah, like I was saying, Nadia, we will be having that seedling survival session with Peter, who made up that report. So I think, you know, looking at the soil type in conjunction with the watering regime, in conjunction with the root structure, I think we'll be able to provide, you know, a lot more evidence. And if groups can kind of, he's going to make a template of looking at problems with root structure. So you'll kind of be able to diagnose, I imagine, by the end of that, or get an idea, you know, if it's something that you're doing with management, or if it's actually just the seedling itself as to why, in terms of your survival rate. Awesome. Cool. I can hear you now, I think.
Oh, can you? Hi.
Yeah. Hi.
That'd be right, wouldn't it? It works when you don't need it to be working. But thank you. That's really helpful. That will be great.
Oh, no worries at all.
Okay.
What about you, Carrie? Are you guys doing any monitoring down around Bridgetown? Or any evaluation of planting sites? I'm not sure if she can hear me.
Maybe not. She might have it.
That's all good. Does anyone have any more questions before we begin to wrap up this morning? Let's have a look. Oh, awesome. Well, thank you, Christine. And thank you, Francesca, that you made a, you know, what I think people see as dreary, extremely interesting in my perspective. I'm sure everyone will agree. We will kind of work together. I think I'll try and collate all of those ideas and resources from today. I think it's been an extremely valuable learnings for everybody. And I think in terms of such a broad scale of what you can do, whether you're a friends of group, whether you're a bit of a bigger group, or whether it's, you know, just you yourself. And yeah, thank you all so much also for spending your morning with us. Thank you, Francesca. Thank you, Christine. So after this session, we'll send out a copy of the recording. Francesca's session won't be recorded, but obviously everyone will have the Q&A session. Will you send out your presentation, do you think, Francesca, or could you cut bits out that are sensitive?
Yeah, it's fine. I can send it you. I just didn't want to, in case I accidentally said what the thing was that we found. That's why I didn't want it recorded, in case I accidentally blurted it out of pure excitement. But the media release will come out this week. Anyway,
that's hilarious. Okay,
yeah,
cool.
I'll send a presentation, and I've got a little summary as well and a map, so I'll share that.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Cool. So that will all go out to everyone via email. If you're not already a member of WALN, we'd love you to join us. If you are a member, please feel free to log into our new website and check out your new member profile. So we've just recently got all of the back end of that finally sorted out. So you can go in, put your logo, put your group details, how people can contact you, what activities you've got going on, because we get a lot of people contacting us throughout the week who are just like, I'm really keen to get involved in something. I'm located here. Can you link me up with someone? And so we do direct them onto groups. And feel free to have a look around the Landcare Expertise Exchange while you're in there if you haven't already. But thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Have a lovely day and a fantastic rest of your week.
Thank you.
Thanks
Thanks so
you.
much. See you
Thanks,
soon.
Francesca. That
Yeah,
was
thanks,
wonderful.
Christine. Yeah, I really enjoyed your presentation.